wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do.
Hey, this is Zach Pasquarello. Good, how are you? Central Pennsylvania? Where are you from? I've been to California one time, and it was for work, and I was in the deserts down south. It wasn't very nice. It was August. Although I was coming from Georgia, so it was actually pleasantly nice going from Georgia to California because the heat is just so different. It's dry, it's not as humid. It was actually better than the weather in Georgia in August. What kind of box truck are you getting? Is it brand new? That's awesome. How much? Wow, $112,000. You probably could have got that same truck for $70,000 or $80,000 a year ago, 2 years ago. So you said you're about 3 weeks away from getting the truck. Do you have specific questions on what you're looking to do, or what do you want to talk about? Sorry, I'm just taking notes real quick. Yeah, no, first of all, it is hard to find all of the information. Like you said, like kind of compact, easy to understand. So I'm not going to be able to give you like a comprehensive review of multiple companies. But what I can do is I can tell you what I've done, and it's worked for me this far, so I think that's valuable information. Load boards. So there's truckstop.com, and there's the DAT load board, like DAT.com. And I originally got truckstop.com, but I canceled that after the first month, and I just got the DAT load board. And that's the only one I use, DAT.com. There are multiple subscription levels you can get. There's like a $35 one, like a $75 one, like a $150 one. I just used the cheapest one, the $35 one, and it worked really well for me. Just keep in mind, the DAT load board is where you're gonna get started. From what I understand, from what I've seen, you wanna move away from the load board as quickly as possible. So this is kind of like the timeline that I tell everybody. So for the first 30 to 60 days, work the DAT load board, but really work the connections with the brokers. Get connected. Every day you're going to run a load with a different broker from a different company. So just get connected with that broker, build a relationship with that broker, get his phone number, get his email address, and add him to a list. And assuming you're running consistent lanes, like, you know, the same city to the same city, or even the same region. Like if you stay on the West Coast, like for me, I'm probably working with different brokers on the East Coast than you would be on the West Coast. But typically brokers stay in their region or stay in their lane. So long answer short, just work with the DAT load board for the first 30 to 60 days with the expectation that you're going to work directly with brokers outside of the DAT load board, because most big brokers have like their own load board, like JB Hunt, CH Robinson, XPO, all of the big brokers, they actually have their own load board that you can log in directly on their website. And a lot of brokers, they'll contact carriers directly with like almost like an email subscription newsletter, like on a daily basis, like, hey, okay, you're stationed in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. These are the lanes and these are the loads we have coming out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania this week and next week. Can you cover any of them? So those are typically the best loads, and those loads never make it to the DAT load board. So that's why I say whenever you're just getting started, you don't have these connections with brokers. So you're gonna have to rely on the DAT load board to get started. But after that, hopefully you build a good relationship with brokers and they start reaching out to you directly with the best loads first. Because it's just all the leftover loads that no one wants to run get thrown up on the DAT load board. What's the main difference between Truckstop and DAT? I honestly didn't even work with Truckstop that much. I found more loads being posted for box trucks on the DAT load board. And it just seems to be more popular with dispatchers and brokers and other carriers. It just seemed like there were just more loads available on the DAT load board, just more popular. I don't know. It probably depends on the broker where he's putting his loads up. That's why I went with DAT, because it did seem to be the most popular, the most talked about, the most widely used. So a lot of the factoring companies are pretty much the same. They're gonna offer you 3%. And I started out with TAFs, and the bad thing about TAFs is they make it pretty difficult to get away from them, which is just kind of scary, because a factoring company is going to own all of your accounts receivable. So any money that a broker owes you, the factoring company technically owns that money. If you want to get paid like outside of your factoring company, it can be kind of a difficult process, and TAFs makes it exceptionally difficult. So like you almost have to go through TAFs exclusively, and like you can actually look up on the Better Business Bureau, their website, you can look up TAFs, you can look up RTS, and you can look up OTR Capital. From what I understand, those are like the three most popular factoring companies, and I would recommend that you read reviews on there, because there's a lot of really bad reviews about TAFs on the Better Business Bureau's website. And it's basically just people feeling like they're being held hostage by TAF. So I always recommend just go with either RTS or OTR. I mean, maybe you can contact all three of them and see what they have to offer, but those are the three big ones, and RTS seems to be the best one. I definitely think it's possible to not use a factoring company, especially if you only plan on having one truck. Like if you just plan on being an owner operator with one truck, it's absolutely possible, and you can even get a line of credit. It sounds like you've been in business for a couple years. So if I were you, I would try to go to a big bank like Wells Fargo, and that's what I did. I literally went to Wells Fargo, and I've been in business for 6 months, and I told them my revenue. They did a credit check on me, and they looked at my most recent tax return, and they gave me a $20,000 line of credit at 8% annual interest, which is a significantly better interest rate than the factoring company is charging you. So if you can get a line of credit, then you can essentially cash flow your business without using the factoring company. Yeah, that's actually how I bought my semi-truck. I took out a home equity line of credit for $45,000 against my house, and that's how I bought my truck. To buy my truck, whenever I bought the CDL truck, so it was for a semi-truck, a CDL truck, and financing options are way different for a CDL truck than they are for a non-CDL truck. If I were you, I would try to go conventional, like a conventional loan for your non-CDL box truck. If I were you, I would not use a line of credit to buy the truck, because I mean, if you've been in business for a couple years, I would be pretty surprised if you couldn't get a loan from your bank at 5% interest. Have you tried? But have you been like a business owner for the past 2 years? I definitely think you should reach out to your bank and kind of explain the whole situation. I mean, you've been a business owner for a long time now. You understand how loans and loan officers work, but it's all about that relationship. It's all about your ability to sell your business to the loan officer and to communicate your financials. So I don't know anything about insurance other than the fact that I have a really good insurance agent who does all of that for me. Yeah, if you want, I use an insurance agent that actually specializes in trucking companies, and I can send you his information after this call. Yep. Yeah, he's got coverage in almost all the states. First of all, are you going to be the one driving the truck? Okay, so the flow of the paperwork is extremely important. The fact that you're driving the truck is going to make it more simple. So you're going to work with a broker or a dispatcher, either one. They're going to send you a rate confirmation. As soon as you basically, you're going to put in a bid for a load, they're going to accept the bid, and then they're going to send you a rate confirmation. It's always very important that you check the load number, the pickup address, the delivery address, the amount of money, and all of the fine print, all of the details inside that rate confirmation. That rate confirmation is going to be like the legal document that dictates what will and will not be paid for. So things like detention pay, things like lumper, whether or not you need someone to help you unload your truck, or a layover. So like if you have to, stay somewhere for the night and can't unload until the next day, typically brokers will pay like $150 or $250 a day for a layover, and they'll also typically pay between like $25 and $40 for detention pay. It's super important that you read all the details inside that rate confirmation. So that's going to be the first thing. Like never go somewhere to pick up something until you get the rate confirmation. It's typically going to be emailed to you in like a PDF, and so that rate confirmation is the first piece of the puzzle. And then as soon as you get to the shipper, you already mentioned that you're going to get a bill of lading. And you always want to make sure that you get the bill of lading. Never leave a shipper without a piece of paper, like a legitimate bill of lading. Like a piece of scratch paper with information written on it is not acceptable. It should be a very official looking document with the shipper's information and then some type of signature from the shipper. And then you're on your way. All the information should be on the rate con and the BOL. And then you get to the receiver, and then always 1000% make sure the receiver signs the bill of lading, basically acknowledging that you successfully delivered whatever needed to be delivered, without discrepancy. And then with those two pieces of information, the rate confirmation and the bill of lading. So the rate confirmation is almost always going to be a digital copy. The bill of lading is almost always going to be a paper copy. So all you need to do is just take your cell phone or a scanner, whatever technology you're using, just scan the bill of lading, and then you're going to generate a PDF document based on that bill of lading, and then the rate confirmation and the bill of lading gets uploaded directly to your client portal through your factoring company. So whether it's TAFs, RTS, or OTR, you're going to log into your website, you're going to sign in, and then you're just going to upload those two documents. And then as long as those two documents are verified and match up, then your factoring company is going to pay you within 24 or 48 hours. And then the factoring company generates an invoice, and the factoring company bills the broker directly, and then the broker pays the factoring company in 30 days. One last thing I want to say is most of the factoring companies, they will charge you if they're not paid by the broker. So they're not accepting full responsibility for the payment. They're only fronting you the money. So it is still kind of your responsibility to make sure the broker pays the factoring company. So I'm constantly looking at my outstanding receivables, and once they get to like 45 or 60 days old, I'm reaching out to the broker directly saying, hey, what's going on? Why haven't you paid my factoring company? Because if it gets to 60 or 90 days, there's potential for your factoring company to then take back that money that they paid you. Yeah, inside my client portal with my factoring company, I'm able to see all of the invoices, and I'm able to see if they've been collected or not collected, and then how many days old they are. And then also there's kind of like an activity list of like communications sent from my factoring company to my broker, and then they'll have little details like they asked this question, they requested this document. You can kind of see the paper trail of communication between factoring company and broker, so you know what's going on, why it hasn't been paid yet. In order to avoid brokers with bad credit, all you simply need to do is, prior to booking that load with them, go to your factoring company and just do a credit check on the broker. So every broker has an MC number, so you can just enter that MC number into your factoring company, and your factoring company will tell you basically yes or no, good or bad. And if they're bad, just don't work with them. And with I see it more with box trucks than I do with traditional 53-foot semi-truck loads, just because box truck loads are typically more or less conventional. But you'll very quickly learn who the brokers are with bad credit and who the brokers are with good credit. Just because a broker doesn't have enough credit with a factoring company doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad business. It just might mean that they're maybe too new, or they just have a lot of outstanding accounts receivable. It's not always a bad thing, but it's just a general good rule of thumb. Just don't waste your time. Don't work with brokers with with not enough credit, because your factoring company won't front you the money. So like I did a couple loads with brokers who did not have enough credit, and so my factoring company did not pay me up front, so I just had to wait until the broker paid the factoring company. I had to wait 30 days basically to get paid. From what I understand, it's pretty easy to become a broker. You just need to have enough money to get a bond. I don't know, that's just like a few $1,000s to get a bond from what I understand. And then, yeah, once you become a broker, I don't think it's a very difficult thing to get into. It's difficult to succeed, but I don't think it's very difficult to get into and get started. And then you just basically call warehouses, you call manufacturers, you call shippers, and you try to sell them. You try to say, hey, I'll move your freight for you. I think the freight market is a lot like the stock market. It's going to go up and down. Back in 2021, it was a really good year. There was a lot of freight that needed to be moved, and because demand was so high, like the loads were paying really, really good. But now in 2022, I don't know why. Maybe it has to do with inflation. Maybe it probably has to do with a million different things, but there's just not as much freight that needs to be moved. Therefore, since the supply has diminished, the amount that brokers are paying us is just a lot lower today than it was a year ago, for whatever reason. But I think that's a lot like the stock market. I don't know if you're in the stock market or if you pay attention to what's going on, but you know it goes up and down on a daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis, based on the decade. It just goes up and down. We just have to weather the storm. So you're going to have really good months where you're making a lot of money. And just, you've been a business owner for a long time, you understand this. You're going to have months where you make a lot of money. You're going to have months where you don't make a lot of money. So you just need to average out that income and just be prepared, save up money, be prepared for when it's going to be a couple bad months or maybe a couple bad years. You just have to weather the storm and just be smart about your money, and you'll be fine. You asked me two other questions that we didn't talk about. Your electronic logging device. Very, very simply, just go with Keep Truckin'. They changed their name to Go Motive, but Keep Truckin'. You can probably go to gomotive.com and get an ELD. It's $40 a month. Very straightforward, very easy to use, very popular in the industry. I see a lot of other owner-operators using Keep Truckin'. Just use Keep Truckin'. I mean, that's what I've used. It's worked really well for me. Second thing, your new entrant safety audit. You said you've been doing a lot of research on that and haven't really gotten a clear answer. I just had my new entrant safety audit. It happened for me at my 10-month mark, and from what I understand, it's happened to a lot of other guys once, like almost exactly at their 10 months. So so if your authority goes active in June 2022, be expected for a safety audit next year in April or May sometime. But I have a list here of the documents that they requested from me, and I can tell you real quick if you want to write these down. It was so incredibly simple. All they asked me for was my a copy of my driver's license, a copy of my driver's DOT medical card, 3 years of my driver's motor vehicle record history. Yeah, it's called MVR, History Motor Vehicle Record. And you could probably get that from like your state Department of Transportation. You could probably get that online. I think it costs like $10. A certificate of insurance, which everyone's going to have. So you just need a certificate. Just make sure your insurance is legitimate. And then a copy of your vehicle inspection. So it needs to obviously get a DOT vehicle inspection. No, it's just like you go to a diesel mechanic and you say, hey, I need this to get a DOT inspection. They're going to check like emissions and the tires and everything with the engine. They're just going to make sure it's safe enough to drive on the road. If you go to any diesel mechanic, I'm sure they'll know it. So there's 2 different DOT inspections. You can get a federal DOT inspection. You can get a state DOT inspection. So just ask your mechanic. They'll know what to do. And then all you need, they'll give you like some sort of sticker to put on your windshield. And then my DOT safety officer was like, just send me a picture of that sticker on your windshield. And then finally, he needed my 30 days of my electronic logging device, 30 days of my logs, a printout. You'll be able to log in. So for my electronic logging device, like I can log in, and yeah, you can get all that information straight from the website of keeptrucking.com. And then you can also export the information. So like you can export all of your log information like in an Excel file. So yeah, you'd be able to print that out for sure. Yeah, if you ever have any more questions, feel free to reach out. Yep, good luck.